We have our rain provision here. This is our umbrella.
We've had some serious storms.
And then we pack our rain gear, and when it rains, we get wet. I have a cover bag here to cover my clipboard. We eat some gum as we go along throughout the day.
Welcome to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Welcome to a new episode of Sam's Garage. Sam interviews several of the different teams and their cars from the Great Race. The BelAir gets some dress-up items from Lokar Performance. Victory Motorsports helps Sam finish up the Nopi SE300. And Sam demos some premium suspension parts from Mevotech. Sam takes some time to interview some of the unique teams and rides on the Great Race.
What car do you guys drive?
So we drive the number 160 1953 Dodge Power Wagon. Today we won the Team Choice Award.
Did you have any breakdowns?
One.
What was it?
So we had two freeze plugs pop out of our block while we were climbing up a hill. And of two first times, they only popped out halfway, able to tap them back in with a hammer. And 15 minutes away from Binghamton, one completely shot out of the block, couldn't find it. Ended up one of the neighbors, ended up giving me a ride into town, went to an Ace Hardware, grabbed a PVC expansion plug, ground it down, stuck it back in there, back on the road in time for dinner.
The worst thing that can happen to you is a freeze plug blowing out. So most people would just be like, that's it, I quit and walk away. These guys went in, figured out how to fix it, got the car back into the race and finished it, got a scholarship, got an award. That's what it's about. In the Great Race, you got these things called mentors. And those are folks who have done the Great Race in the past and have a lot of knowledge on how to school the rookies on what to do and how to do it. I had a lot of conversations with him at breakfast in the hotel, and he gave me a lot of wisdom that we used in the car. So I'm kind of surprised that you're a rookie being as knowledgeable as you are.
Well, yeah, I mean, they provide you with the various videos, the Zoom call that we had, and if you look through the rules and everything else, I mean, they tell you pretty much everything. It's just a matter of getting the application and getting the processes to work right.
Mark, how was the driving?
Driving was good. You know, this one, the throttle, you give it a little, you get a lot.
Yeah.
So it was kind of tough to keep it at a steady speed.
Father and son, Patrick and Christian. Christian was actually with Brandon. He is one of our two mentors. He helped Doug and I learn everything about the Great Race and how we can do what we did. They did a great job teaching us everything.
I've got a 68 Mustang. It's got the 302 engine in it. It's an automatic, which is, I'm not sure anyone really loves that, but it's a great car. Consistently, as long as you're pressing the pedal, that's very consistent about how it shifts at different shift points.
In the Great Race means you're open to the environment, so it makes a little extra challenge when the rain is coming down hard, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of things to learn in a hurry. But if you do a regional rally, there's a couple of them around the country, 3-day rallies, you get the feel for how it works and you can learn a little bit and meet a few people, and that really helps you out when you come to the Great Race.
Andrea is one of two motorcycle riders that are doing it completely on their own on a vintage motorcycle. It took the third day for me to realize that they're actually shifting this bike with their hand and not their foot.
It's a 1934 Indian 4. It's my second year doing the Great Race. The easiest thing to say is I take safety first, ride the bike, make sure I don't hit anything. Second is following the instructions, make sure I don't get lost. And the third is we do our best to be on speed, on time. I make my notes as quick as I can. I tell my husband to start the stopwatch. I don't allow myself more than 10 minutes. I put my notes down, I make some time adjustments, I hand it to my husband. Then I go out, make sure the bike's good. He puts it in the scroll box, runs it out to me, it goes on the bike, and out I go.
So this is a 1916 Pikes Peak Hill Climber. It was replicated after the Pikes Peak Hill Climbers of that late teens and was built with the body style of that hill climber. There's also one other car in the race, which is an Indy racer, also a 1916 Hudson. My dad started in 1991. I was support crew, so I used to ride in the Suburban with my mom and my two sisters, and we'd travel across the country for 14 days in the summer.
The coolest part is that you guys made this a family vacation for so many years.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so fun, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You see the number 1 on his vehicle? He is a grand champion. What makes somebody a grand champion?
We have to win the race to be the grand champion. So that is putting together the best score throughout the race cumulative after 9 days. We've won it 4 times. Last year was our 4th win in the last 11 years.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. The Chevy BelAir receives a new set of pedals and fluid dipsticks courtesy of Lokar Performance.
So how I was introduced to Lokar was back in the day when we were building JDM drag cars with Supra engines and American transmissions and American throttle bodies. We had to use Lokar to adapt the two together. So anytime after that, when you guys are doing any engine swap in any make and model vehicle, Lokar is there to save the day. So today, we're gonna be doing the trans dipstick, oil dipstick, throttle body cable, and the pedal for the gas. But while we're in there doing the pedal for the gas, we're gonna go ahead and accent the brake pedal and the high beam to match the gas pedal.
Sounds good.
You ready to do some work?
Yeah.
This is almost the very end of the BelAir project.
We're doing the dipsticks first.
And the reason why we went with the steel braided is to match the accents of the rest of the vehicle. See, there's nothing black on there. In this case, because everything is old school bling, I went ahead and went with steel braided.
It's gonna look good. Just off the bat, aesthetically, this is such a big upgrade. Obviously, this was just designed for function, not for aesthetics.
So the first thing you want to do with this functional dipstick that we've got is you're going to put a little bit of lube on that O-ring. Then you're going to remove the dipstick from the dipstick tube. We're going to find our hole where it goes into in the block, and we're going to fish this guy in between the second and third running. All right, so the Lokar transmission oil dipstick comes with its own little funnel attachment. It's got a nice little billet aluminum adapter that goes onto the dipstick. And then this goes to the bottom of your funnel and you can fill it up that way. So before I use this, because I'm not gonna fill it up yet, the dipstick itself, what I recommend is right here, there are 2 O-rings, just a little bit of lube. So all we gotta do is install this piece right here. It's got a section for the kickdown cable in case you're running an automatic, and it's got the spot for the throttle body cable itself, and a spot for the spring itself. We're gonna unscrew the right rear nut, put this in place. What makes Lokar so cool is they've got a throttle cable for pretty much every application you're working on. This is gonna be for an Edelbrock plate style. All right, so what we did, first we installed the pedal, then what I did was drill a hole above the pedal for the cable to come out, and then I made sure to size the outside cable first. So what you wanna do is make sure that when you put your inner cable in, that you position it and adjust it to the point where when you're at full throttle and the throttle plates are open all the way. That way you're not putting any strain or tension on the cable and having all the load on the little jam nut. You want the load to be the floor of the car. So that's gonna put a stop to that. Then what you wanna do is make sure to install the return spring correctly so that when you sweep the throttle, that it doesn't bind anywhere and that you got good travel both forward and return. Then what I did was went ahead and matched the gas pedal with a nice brake pedal, lined it up to where I knew I wanted it, marked my 4 holes, drilled, installed the metal portion of the pedal, went ahead and glued the pads back on. Everything looks good. Now all I gotta do is simply put my cover over the high beam headlight switch on the floor. That one is a magnetic installation, makes it very easy. That wasn't bad, right?
No, not at all.
4 Lokar items installed pretty quickly.
All of these items are easy to install, but the best part is the quality behind them. You can count on anything that Lokar makes.
That's because it's made right here in America.
Absolutely.
We're about 99% done. that last 1% is going to take longer than the 99% that we got
Yeah, that'll
done.
take a week.
So don't beat up the mechanic when he gives you guys those quotes, guys. Just pick a different hobby if you don't like it. So I'm having Bobby Bueller build me a new engine for the 67 Cadillac. We're gonna go with a 427 cubic inch all aluminum LS engine. I've already got the sleeves, he's doing the machine work. I went to Race Winning Brands because they are the leading manufacturer of performance parts for automotive and the power sport market. So what you want is peace of mind when it comes to the rotating assembly. I went with a completely forged Manley crankshaft, forged H-beam Manley rods, along with JE forged aluminum piston that's coated so it reduces the piston to wall clearance. The thing about Race Winning Brands is about peace of mind. When you're a racer, you want that engine to last the whole race, you want it to last the whole season. So they're gonna give you peace of mind. But they also have everything else that go along with the rotating assembly. They got cylinder heads, they got the blocks, they got the electronics, they got the valve train components, along with all the exhaust components you need to make that race car yours and to make it completely reliable. So when you guys are building yourself an engine, you're building yourself a car, you're building yourself something that's going to be competitive, you're spending a lot of money, you want peace of mind, you want to spend it one time, you go to Race Winning Brands.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. The Nopi SC300 project is one step closer to being completed by installing the intercooler piping and finishing up the wiring.
This is an exciting week. We're gonna finally fire up the SC300. I got Edwin and Brian from Victory Motorsports here. We're gonna make some intercooler piping, complete the fuel system and all the wiring, and fire this baby up. What do you think?
Yeah, Sam, I'm definitely ready for it. We've definitely been working hard on the car. We're gonna get that intercooler piping done, get both sides done, get the wiring done. Edwin's gonna get some tuning done, and we'll get it to fire up.
We'll finish up the inside once we go inside the car, and we'll put it on a nice Deutsch connector so that way he can unplug it from the inside or right at the fans if he just had to swap the fans out. So what I just made a fan relay. I made 2 relays, one for each fan. It's just to trigger on with the ECU so that way the fans come on at a certain temperature. So right now we're gonna finish up now the fuel pump wiring. Same concept we did the front with the relay. We put a relay in here, so then we have a ground that's gonna go straight to the battery for that, and then off the relay, we're going to be triggering the pump with the power wire. So far we've finished up the wiring for the fuel pump, both fans up front. We ran a relay system on all 3 of the components. For the fans, each fan has a single relay for it and an upgraded relay for the fuel pump so it doesn't pull so much amperage. Now we just got to finish up tying up to the battery, and then we'll be ready to go, and then finish up a couple wires inside for the triggers. And that's going to complete the part of this wiring for this application for the fuel pump and the fans.
We got these spacers that we made so we can get the intercooler to sit exactly where we want it. Since the spacer is not threaded, it's just a piece of square bar stock. We're actually just gonna weld a bolt to one end of it, and then we're gonna weld the nut to the other end of it so we can thread one side into the intercooler and then put a bolt in through the top, through the chassis. So now we're gonna go ahead and tackle the intercooler piping. We got 2.5-inch stainless steel. Most applications are either gonna use stainless or aluminum piping. I don't really have a recommendation on which one's better. I mean, aluminum is a little bit easier. Stainless, you get a little bit of a better look. I think that in areas where you're not gonna be able to keep the piping away from the heat, then you should go with aluminum, because aluminum dissipates the heat a lot better than stainless does. It'll hold that heat in. It'll make your IATs go up, or your intake air temperature. So what we did here is we actually drilled a 3-inch hole. It's 2.5-inch pipe, so the 2.5-inch pipe fits right into the hole. So we're gonna come off the turbo and we're gonna go down to the intercooler on this side. And because we have a little bit of an odd bend here, it's not a 45, it's not a 90, it's not straight. So we're actually gonna use some pie cuts. And so the cool thing about pie cuts is you have a 15-degree bend, you have 7.5 on one side, 7.5 on the other side. And so it allows you to stack them and get a bend that otherwise you couldn't get. You can get it by cutting a pre-bent pipe, but it is a lot easier to use pie cuts in a lot of situations. In this situation, it's gonna be easier to go with pie cuts. So with 2 pie cuts stacked together, that gives us a 30-degree bend, and that lines us up directly from the hole that we cut here, straight into the coupler.
Here we have a 2JZ with an aftermarket intake manifold and an American throttle body, so we're gonna need a Lokar universal cable to adapt it to the pedal, along with a cable to go to the transmission that we have. Like back in the day, the American transmission, Turbo 400, 350, we had dipsticks for them. That's how we got introduced, because without Lokar, engine swaps just aren't possible. This is it. We've been hard at work all day. This is what we work for. We're about to fire it up and see if that 17-year-old engine's gonna run. You ready, Edwin? I'm ready. You ready, Brian? Yes, sir. And that's what it's about right there. The first time any project car fires up, it's the motivation to get it to the end of the road. I want to thank Brian and Edwin from Victory Motorsports. They're going to have their new facility open. It's going to be in Loganville. Please check them out. They're really one of the few guys I trust in this state doing motorsports, really the country.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam showcases some premium suspension and hub assembly components from Mevotech.
All right, today we're going to be talking suspension components. Last week we talked steering. This week we're going to be talking control arms, hub assemblies, and ABS. All right, so we're talking Mevotech again this week because they've been around 42 years, born by engineers. They've got 3 different levels: original grade, Supreme, and TTX. They also make components for the OEs. That's how good they are. So what I have here on the table is an upper control arm. This is an upper A-arm for a 4-wheel drive Chevy truck. Nice bushings on the ends. They've also got their integral bushing for the ball joint. TTX technology, comes with a grease fitting, and they put a flathead spot on the end of the shaft for the joint so that in case you have the joint moving on you while you're tightening the nut, all you got to do is put a flathead on top, hold the joint in place, and tighten your nut. Most cases they use Allen wrenches in other applications. This one is going to have a flathead slot on top. And you guys, when you have a suspension component problem like an upper A-arm, what you're going to experience is creaking noises. Next time you go to the shop, have your lube tech do a complete inspection of the suspension components if you're experiencing those things. This particular control arm is for a Ford F-150, 4-wheel drive, big and heavy. You guys, us at the shop, if you have a problem with the control arm and your bushings are bad, there's nothing in the world harder than replacing these bushings. Installing them is one thing, but taking them out is a whole nother story. It's very hard. So it's a very good idea to keep an eye on those bushings, make sure they last a long time. One way you can do that is if you're replacing these components, it's very, very important that you put the components all in place, but you leave the bolts for the bushings on the upper and lower control arms just slightly loose, so that when you put the vehicle back down on its weight, the arms are going to rest where they're supposed to be, then you tighten them right there. That way the control arms will work within their range and the bushings will not bind, creak, or break on you. All right, so let's talk hub assemblies. If you guys have a hub assembly with an ABS incorporated in it, and you have an ABS light and you will go to change the ABS sensor, it's going to have a fault again. These two work in conjunction with each other, all of them out there. So this is a Supreme hub assembly, 2-wheel drive, comes with the ABS sensor incorporated in it. This particular one is a TTX. It's going to be anodized, comes with new hardware with anti-seize thread lock already on the threads. If you guys are hearing a roaring noise, there's 2 reasons for that. One is going to be a cupped tire, the other one's going to be a bad bearing. And the way to find that out is the first thing to do is raise it up off the ground, spin that wheel holding any part of the spindle. And as you spin it, if that bearing is bad, you're going to feel it in the knuckle. And remember, technicians, when you're diagnosing a wheel bearing sound, it does travel. What may be the left front could sound like the right rear and vice versa. So if you guys are having any suspension issues at all, make sure to go to your technician, have them check it out. But you can also go to their website, mevotech.com. It's a fully interactive website, has a lot of information for you. They make a wide variety of part numbers for any make and model vehicle out there. So go on their website, Look at your vehicle, see what they have for you. They have it for German cars, import cars, small SUVs, large SUVs, everything. Check out Mevotech.com and get a grip on your suspension needs.
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sam's Garage. The 2024 Great Race is now completed. The BelAir has some new accessories from Lokar Performance. The Nopi SE300 has come to life. And Mevotech comes through with more premium suspension components.